There's a specific kind of person who walks into a sparse, almost empty room, bare walls, a few plants, a single couch, and feels something loosen in their chest, like they can finally exhale. And then there's everyone else standing in that same room, feeling vaguely unsettled, maybe even a little sad. What separates these two people isn't taste, it's wiring. Minimalism is more than a design preference, it's practically a personality signature. And psychologists have spent decades studying what humans actually need to feel psychologically well. Not just happy, not just successful, but fundamentally okay at a deep level. And one of the 3 core needs they identified was autonomy. People need to feel like their life actually belongs to them, like the choices they make, the spaces they live in, the way they move through the world, reflect who they truly are, not who they feel pressured to be. When that feeling is missing, or something quietly cracks. But here's where things get more interesting, because minimalism is not just about autonomy, it's also about cognitive load. Your brain was never designed to process the modern world. Every object in your environment is a signal. Every signal consumes energy. If you think of your brain like a phone with a limited battery, every single thing in your environment that catches your eye, a pile of clothes, a stack of books, a notification, or a mess in the corner, uses a little bit of that battery just by existing in your field of vision. You're not consciously thinking about any of it, but your brain is. A 2011 study found that when multiple unrelated things compete for your attention at the same time, your brain literally cannot give full processing power to any single one of them. It splits, and chronic splitting creates fatigue you can't explain. Now imagine someone whose nervous system is already more sensitive than average. Psychologist Elaine Aron's research on highly sensitive people, roughly 15 to 20% of the population, found that this trait is largely innate and stable across a lifetime. For these individuals, overstimulation doesn't just feel annoying, it feels invasive. Their nervous system doesn't filter background noise as efficiently. Everything gets through. The clutter isn't just visual, it's neurological. So when they clear a room, they aren't chasing aesthetics. They're regulating their nervous system. That reframes everything. Because if that's true, minimalism isn't a lifestyle trend. It's biological self-defense. But there's another layer most people don't talk about. Russell Belk, a consumer psychologist, proposed something called the extended self. The idea that we add our belongings to our identity. Most people build a sense of self through accumulation. The car, the books, so the clothes, the technology, the proof. Minimalists often reach a different conclusion, sometimes without even realizing it. An identity built on objects is structurally fragile. Objects break, they get lost, they become outdated. And when your sense of self is tied to them, you break with them. But here's where the story takes a turn. Because minimalism isn't always clarity. Sometimes it's control. Picture someone 3 days after a breakup, not the dramatic kind, and the eerily functional kind. They move quietly through the apartment with a trash bag. The ex's things go first, then the things associated with the ex, then the things that just feel like before. On the surface, it looks productive, healthy, like they're getting their life together. But psychologists call this compensatory behavior, using controllable external actions to manage internal chaos. Every object removed becomes a small hit of agency, and a small proof, I still have control over something. The problem is, when small hits wear off, and when they do, you need another one. The threshold for what counts as excess keeps shrinking, until minimalism stops feeling like freedom and starts feeling like a very clean cage. This is where many people misunderstand themselves. The traits don't change, the context does. The same need for autonomy that once produced grounded, intentional choices can morph into rigidity under stress. The same sensitivity that once helped someone create a peaceful environment can turn into avoidance when life becomes overwhelming. Minimalism is not inherently healthy or unhealthy. It's amplifying. It amplifies what's underneath. If what's underneath is clarity, you get spaciousness. If what's underneath is grief, you get distance. And here's something even deeper. Neuroscience shows that uncertainty activates the same brain regions as physical pain. When your future feels unstable, your brain looks for certainty, anywhere it can find it. A cleared surface becomes certainty. A labeled drawer becomes certainty. A simplified wardrobe becomes certainty. In a chaotic world, minimalism becomes a micro-territory of control. That's powerful. But it's also revealing. Because the real question isn't, do I like minimalism? The real question is, what is my nervous system trying to regulate? Is your environment supporting your cognition? Or are you using it to avoid something harder? When you walk into a full room, what does your body actually do? Does it tighten? Does it get distracted? Does it feel heavy? And when you walk into an empty one, do you feel calm? Or do you feel lonely? The answer is different for everyone, and that's the point. Minimalism works beautifully for some people because it aligns with their neurological and psychological wiring. For others, richness and layered environments stimulate creativity. There is no moral superiority in owning less. There is no depth badge in having a white couch and 3 plants. What matters is congruence. Does your environment reflect your internal truth, or are you unconsciously copying an algorithm? One of the biggest hidden costs of social media minimalism is imitation without introspection. You see the aesthetic, you copy the aesthetic, but you skip the self-inquiry. And without self-inquiry, minimalism becomes performance, not alignment. So maybe the better practice isn't own less. Maybe it's notice more. Notice your cognitive fatigue. Notice your emotional triggers. Notice when you're clearing space to think versus clearing space to escape. Because the most dangerous thing about trends is that they can feel like insight. Minimalism can absolutely be an expression of autonomy. It can be a biological necessity for highly sensitive nervous systems. It can protect your cognitive bandwidth, but it can also be compensatory control. And those two realities can exist in the same person, in the same month. So instead of asking, should I become more minimalist? Try asking, what does my nervous system need right now? Not what Pinterest says, not what YouTube recommends, not what productivity culture worships. What does your body say? Because your nervous system has been honest with you this whole time. You just might not have stopped long enough to listen. If this gave words to something you've been feeling but couldn't quite explain, then you're exactly who this channel is for. Subscribe if you want deeper psychological breakdowns like this, not trends, not noise, but frameworks that help you understand yourself better. And if you ever want to directly support this kind of content, there's a join button below. Either way, take a second today. Walk into a room and really pay attention to what your body does. That reaction, that's the truth.